everyone, it's Rachel here and I am delighted to be in our Kilkenny HQ, joined by the lovely Gary from Transformate, Joe from Taxback International and Jonathan from Transformate as well. So guys, I believe you have an exciting, slightly terrifying thing coming up in a couple of months, that is L'Étape du Tour de France. So tell us a bit about that. Jonathan, I believe you have done it for a couple of years, so you're probably the veteran in this case?
Yeah, it's type 2 fun. Fun you enjoy when you've finished and you've got a beer in your hand. It's pretty brutal at times. Yeah. It's hot, it's sweaty, lots of climbing. Yeah, I've done it before, mixed success, to be honest. Sometimes when I'm fitter, it's been really fun. Sometimes when I've not been quite so fit, it's been less fun. Hence, big effort on the training this year.
Amazing. Is that reassuring for you guys, or is that like, ooh?
Well, just so people know what it is, right?
Yeah.
The L'Étape du Tour, it's a stage of the Tour de France.
Yeah.
And so, like, I live in Temple Oak, just the foothills of the Dublin Mountains. And go up to the very top of the Dublin Mountains in Sally Gap. And then, so if you go up and then all the way back down to Temple Oak, and you do that 10 times. So that's about the amount of climbing that's in it. So it's like 135 kilometers.
Or 138, I think it says online. We won't lose the extra 3 kilometers.
The big number though is 4,600 meters of climbing in the Alps that are like that.
And to put that into context, the highest mountain in Ireland, Carrauntoohil, in my home county of Kerry, is 1,000 meters. So
insane.
It's insane, yeah.
As are you probably for doing it.
Felt insane when I said yes to Gary when he asked me all those months ago when he had the website open and said he was registering. Come on, Joe, you'll do this. And I was like, no, I won't, Gary. Come on, I can log you in here with me. We'll do a team from CluneTech. And I said, grand, let's go for it. Safe in the knowledge that these things are always oversubscribed and there's no way he's going to get both of us in. Literally 30 minutes later, text message, we're in. And then the panic set in.
I registered for Joe. So in a team I could do a duo registration, so I'm roping along. But John's done it like 3 times before.
And you're here to tell the tale.
Joe used to cycle for Ireland, right?
Yeah.
Long time ago.
I might die. That's the truth of it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we hope you don't, Gary, to be fair.
Well, me too.
You've got Wicklow to train on the
And that's what I was going to say as well. So I believe, Gary, you've a couple of friends that are taking part as well. So outside of the 2 guys here, there's quite a big group, I imagine, going over.
So, well, it was actually, a group of 3 friends. And 2 of those are pretty serious cyclists. One of them was probably a little bit like me, used to cycles to keep fit.
Yeah.
But when he wants to, he can train properly.
Yeah.
And they all did the Alps 5 years ago, and they've been bugging me to come back. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And then it was actually one of the guys, it was the Irish rugby team in the World Cup. And he said, if not now, then when?
Yeah.
And he kept saying that to me about the Étape. It's on in Nice. We've been to Nice a couple of times.
Yeah.
Like just on holidays and stuff. It's a lovely part of the world. It's the first time it's ever finishing outside of Paris because of the Paris Olympics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was just going, look, if not now, then when? And he got me with that line. And so 3 mates that are doing it that are all considerably fitter than me. These lads cycled for Ireland, done it 3 times. And then myself and my brother, who I'm hoping, and I think, Joe, you mentioned, if you can use my brother as a windshield. Definitely. 6'11".
6'11".
So we'll just say...
Gary's just rope-a-doping.
And genuine question.
Gary, like, imagine this guy is known as squirt in the family.
I am the
His
smallest
brother
guy
is
in the family,
6'11". And his bike is literally the size of a gate.
And that's what I was actually just about to ask. Like, all jokes aside, is it difficult to find a bike for a 6'11" man?
Yeah, he may die also. So, I think...
I hope no one does, or we're going to definitely have to take down this video
on the dying topic, we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago because for those of you who know me, I do get kind of obsessive when I put my mind to something. So I've started getting back into all the, the Global Cycling Network podcasts and all the rest of it. And they did have a feature about, cardiologists and the importance of getting checked. before taking on an event like this.
Yeah.
So disclaimer to everybody, we're not going to die.
Yeah.
We're going to see our cardiologists in advance. Will be grand.
You need
Yeah.
a med cert, actually. You have
To
to have a
actually
med
take part.
cert
Yeah,
to,
you need a
to
doctor's
take
letter
part.
to
Yeah.
let you do it.
I'm kind of not surprised though.
Yeah.
You know, like I would not, you know, I'm a Waterford woman, and the Greenway, I think I've said that to you once or twice. I did it once and I only did about half of it. So yeah, I didn't go very well. So if someone like me got a notion and said, oh, I'm going to go do this, you know, they have to probably protect themselves somewhat. Yeah. And guys, Nice in July as well.
Yeah.
I imagine temperature wise, it's going to be quite a shock to the system, considering
Absolutely.
most of your training will be done in what it is outside now, lashing rain, grey skies, cold, dull
Indoors,
weather.
indoors actually is where most of the training is happening at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gary would know it better than I do, but I can remember, and again, it's going way back, but I can remember one of the most difficult conditions to ever ride it. Wind, rain, storm, that's got its own challenges.
Yeah.
But the bloody heat, you can only peel off so much layers.
Yeah.
So trying to stay hydrated in those temperatures is going to be the real challenge.
And I think, Jonathan, you mentioned a bit of sunburn.
I've been sunburnt in the past because I've sweated off my sun cream. So they actually say, whilst it's in the 30s, it gets above 40 degrees Celsius because of the heat on the rocks in the Alps.
Of course,
so
yeah.
it gets, brutal.
Yeah,
Insane.
and like, sure, you know, it's been snowing up in the mountains. Half the time you couldn't actually train outdoors because there's been snow in the Wicklow Mountains, so I don't want to come off the bike.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's gonna
You're
be a bit of a
probably
change.
it's probably more tactical training inside and just having like a hot air blower at you to be, you know.
Yeah, we've turbo trainers. There's great applications out there now like Zwift and a few more whereby you can actually train virtually.
Mm-hmm.
I know John does huge kilometers indoors. I tend to just stick to like hour and a half, level 2, zone 2 training, listening to a podcast, because I find when I log on to Zwift, I start bloody racing, and then, you know, that's not...
I'd say you're kind of competitive, Joe.
Slightly.
Just a little bit. Yeah,
but,
yeah. Do you want to tell everyone about the mini golf or the putting challenge you won last year or
No.
the year before?
Left-handed though.
But Swift is addictive,
With
you're
my
right.
weekend.
And just in terms of the training, like, again, for someone like myself that has no idea, how extensive is it? Jonathan, I suppose if you want to
I'm trying to do 5 hours a week.
Yeah.
I don't need to hear any of this. You know that?
Yeah, this is
I
becoming
don't-
a competition now.
I
How
don't
many
have
hours
an
are you-
indoor trainer, and I'm definitely not doing 5 hours a week. Yeah, okay.
But you have the medical cert, Gary.
I have the medical
You
cert,
have the
that's
medical
all I
He
need.
did,
If I die, I'm going to sue that doctor.
he did do a stage of the Paris-Nice last week. Was it last week?
Yeah.
Okay, amazing.
Again,
So that's huge.
Again, in
That's
the,
huge. Yeah.
in the freezing cold and rain. But
Still impressive effort.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing outdoors. So. Yeah,
And
I
is there
can't
any
find
other
it.
kind of, I suppose, unknowns to the non-cyclists out there? Like, how long does it actually take, I suppose, is a good question.
I figure we'll target somewhere in the region of 6-7 hours for something like that.
It's like-
What are you talking about? Fastest I've ever done it was 7.5.
yeah.
Yeah, Joe used to cycle for Ireland. Yeah, let's just remember this.
Yeah. No, but in all seriousness, yeah,
Ask
is
me
it a
after
day?
the first climb and I'll reappraise the entire timing.
I'd
They
say
ask you.
8 or 9 hours.
They
we're
ask
doing
you
okay.
what's your objective when you do it, and for me it was to finish, because there's a van.
Finish still on the
There's a
bike.
van called a sweeper broom.
Oh, yeah, the
And
brute
like,
bike.
the Derriere de
you
la
know, it's
Peloton.
like the van of shame. You'd see it like coming up behind you, and then if it catches you, that's it. Put the bike in the back and they drive you
Really?
up. Because
Yeah.
it's a closed road.
Yeah, okay.
So
And they obviously,
they
yeah.
have to reopen the road. So like it's the van of shame. You don't want to get caught.
The sag wagon, yeah. If you sag off the back and there's no hope for you to finish, you end up in the sag wagon.
Yeah, they give you
Yeah.
cut-off times to
Yeah,
parts
yeah.
of the course.
So-
Which again makes
So there are
sense. but-
16,000 participants, and 1/3 of those don't finish every
Okay.
year. So it's
So-
not like, oh, there's a few people that are slow at the back. This is 16,000 very, very dedicated, very, very fit cyclists, and 1/3 of those don't finish.
Genie Mac. So
The more I
we
talk
could-
about it, the more I'm not doing it. That's it.
Yeah, this
then-
wasn't a good idea.
I'm just
But
embarrassed that last year I was beaten by 25 people over 60.
Oh, stop. Hey,
Who are
but
these people?
experience, do you know what I mean? But I suppose as well, when you hear that, like, to take part, first of all, huge achievement and well done to you, right? But then to hopefully finish it. I don't want to jinx anyone. But again, like that's an insane achievement. So is that kind of where your objectives will be?
Talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, okay.
When we actually do it, it'll be an insane achievement.
Because you have to, like cycling, and that's the other thing. I suppose one of the reasons why I fell out of love with cycling and I quit cycling back in the day from a position of being on the Irish team was the fact that there's so many variables that the bike that are completely out of your control that the bike can throw with you.
Yeah.
You know, with a peloton that big, somebody takes a spill in front of you, they take you down.
Yeah.
You're gone. You have a mechanical failure in your bike, a puncture, that impedes you massively as well. So outside of the physical element of it, there's a lot of other variables that we must keep our minds on and be very conscious of throughout, and be smart. Yeah. I always kind of say, and my advice to anybody who's taking up cycling or taking on something like this is, you've only so many matches in the box. And if you light one, it's gone. You can never replenish that match. Yeah. So you start off nice and easy, you appraise who's around you, riding styles, etc. And then just be comfortable within yourself and then burn the matches at your own rate so that you have a few matches left when it comes to that final climb.
Yeah.
And if you're out of matches by the bottom of the final climb, you're in deep doo-doo.
You're gone. You're in what you call it, the sag wagon?
The sag wagon.
Yeah,
I haven't heard that one, but
it's an Irish one.
I'd heard the broom, all right.
Yeah.
But
The sweeper. And look, I suppose a really good point to move on to then is the fact that you're not just a group of lunatics doing this to put your body through arguably hell for a couple of months, on the lead up. You are all taking part for a good cause and you're raising money for some really important charities. So Jonathan, I might come to you first. I believe you are fundraising for Muscular Dystrophy UK.
I am.
Is it dystrophy or dystrophy actually?
Dystrophy,
yeah.
So my brother unfortunately suffers from a mild form of muscular dystrophy, but is still unfortunately on a fast track to a wheelchair. So it has no cure. It's muscle wasting disease. So it's very kind of close to home, and I'm passionate, and always whenever I raise money for charity, it's for muscular dystrophy, just because they are still trying to find a cause, a solution to the cause, and it's both around research to fund solving that genetic disorder, and then also supporting those who have it increasingly.
Amazing.
So,
well done.
Severe forms of the disease mean that unfortunately, children, particularly young boys, can die in their 20s from it. So I hope it's a really good cause. And
yeah, no, well done. And, obviously hope your brother is doing well as well. But, he's got a great person, I suppose, getting the money up. And guys, for yourselves, obviously Parkinson's Ireland then, and we are going to be chatting to Lisa, who's one of the nurses. I'm delighted to be joined by the lovely Lisa Wynne, who is a nurse with Parkinson's Ireland. Lisa, welcome to our HQ.
Thank you.
Welcome to CluneTech. So Lisa, obviously you've met the guys, and Joe and Gary are fundraising for Parkinson's Ireland, which obviously is a cause close to your heart because it's where you work. So I suppose if you could start by telling us a little bit about your role.
So I'm with Parkinson's Ireland for the last 2 and a bit years. I worked in Parkinson's prior to that for about 8 years. So when I joined, I was the only nurse, and we set up a nurse service, and we now have a second nurse working with us, and we provide support and education to people with Parkinson's, family members, and then health professionals. So we do an awful lot of education. We do a nurse support line, and through the nurse support line, we could get anywhere between 100 and 130 calls a month from people who are newly diagnosed a day, or people who might have Parkinson's 20 years plus. So it's very varied.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But I love it. It's brilliant because you're giving the little bits of nuggets of information, and you're providing a huge amount of support to people who don't really have a level of support out there.
And I think you and I had this conversation off camera, I suppose, about it's quite a common illness, but it's very, there's a huge lack of awareness around what it is, and, funding around research and diagnosis and things like that. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so it's the second most common neurodegenerative disease. So Alzheimer's is the first, and we all know about Alzheimer's because there's a huge awareness around it. But Parkinson's is actually the fastest progressing, or the fastest growing neurological condition. In Ireland at the moment, they estimate that we have 15 to 18,000 people with Parkinson's. But that is expected to double by 2040. So globally, we're expecting the figures to double. And it's because we're getting older. So
Yeah.
the population is aging. We're picking up diagnosis a lot better. There's still no official way of diagnosing Parkinson's. So there is your clinical assessment of your symptoms, possibly a family history, and then maybe if you respond to medication. But at the moment, that's the diagnosis, and that's what it's based on. There are scans, but not 100% definitive. So that's a lot of the research at the moment is going into biomarkers for Parkinson's. So finding identification as to how we can diagnose.
And I imagine potentially prevent it as well if they can kind of figure out.
So if they can figure out why, then we can work around it and
back
figure out who has it. Even the diagnosis is a big stage. There is no cure for it. So at the moment, there's medication which manages the symptoms, but there's no actual cure for Parkinson's.
Yeah.
And it is a progressive disease. So you may start off with mild symptoms, and those symptoms will vary and develop in different ways. There's for most people, it's a variation of symptoms. So nobody is the same with Parkinson's.
Yeah.
But there's up to 40 different symptoms that you could experience. So it's
and I think the tremors is probably one of the most well-known symptoms.
Most well-known, the figure of an older man with Parkinson's bent over with a shuffle and a tremor is your Parkinson's typical. But actually we would speak to a huge percentage of people who are under the age of 50 even. So from 30s upwards is who I'd hear a lot from.
Yeah.
And of course it's that stigma about it being
An
the older
older person.
person.
Yeah, of course.
The disease of the older person where it's not.
Yeah.
So that we have a chemical in our brain that we all do lose
Yeah.
as we age. But in Parkinson's, they lose it at a faster rate.
Okay.
So we don't know why, really. There's always a genetic link, and there is genes out there that they've identified. There is an environmental link that they believe. So that they believe there's a role of pesticides and chemicals in the development of Parkinson's. So yeah, it's a huge area for research and learning.
Yeah, and I suppose, look, we've heard from the three guys, and Joe and Gary are fundraising for Parkinson's Ireland.
Yeah,
It's of
which is
course
brilliant.
very close to their hearts. But I suppose for you, when we're talking about, under-resourced and underfunded and the amount it seems that needs to be done, how important are fundraisers like this for you guys?
Huge. Like, it's so valuable for us. We receive very little government funding, so we don't receive official state funding for the charity itself. All our money that we raise is through fundraising. So we have a staff of 5 in the office. So 2 of us are nurses, and then we have a CEO, a manager, and then comms. So we rely on fundraising like this,
course,
which is huge, and then we have membership as well. But the membership is lower than you would like it, as always, because the awareness isn't out there. So it's starting at the very beginning.
Sorry, can I just ask, when you say membership, who are the members?
So,
sorry.
So for the charity, we have members that would be based nationally, and we have international ones. There's people from Jamaica and France that are members of Parkinson's Ireland, so they can use all of our resources.
Okay.
You can contact the nurses whether you're a member or not, but the membership provides quarterly magazines, weekly emails and updates and research, and then it allows you access to our Zoom classes that we run essentially Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
So on a national basis, and then also for our local branches. So we have 18 local branches that again are run by volunteers, but they have there's classes in place. There's the social aspect, which we couldn't do without the volunteers. So
amazing.
That's what the membership covers, I suppose.
Yeah, of course. So you have a small team, but you have the
small
kind of
team,
benefit of having those extra hands, I suppose, all over the country.
So those volunteers are so valuable to us.
Amazing. And look, obviously it is Parkinson's Awareness Day as well. I believe you've had quite a hectic week of events leading up to today, but we would like to thank you for taking the time out, and I believe if anyone wants to learn more, they can go to parkinsons.ie.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah,
nice
absolutely. Yeah.
Simple, short and sweet.
There's a national helpline there's a support line that they can ring, which is 1-800-359-359 for any questions at all.
Amazing. Well, Lisa Wynne, thank you so much for the time, and it was amazing to meet you, and hopefully we'll have a nice big check coming your way after the guys do the race in July. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Rachel.
But I'm assuming that's also a cause that's close to home for you.
Yeah, so my mum's side of the family, there's a history of Parkinson's, and she was diagnosed last year as well. So I need something to make sure they don't drop out of this and keep going. So I think that's the motivation to be able to to help Parkinson's Ireland raise, and obviously close to home. So.
And yourself as well, Joe,
I knew nothing about Parkinson's prior to my father-in-law being diagnosed with it about 15 years ago, and the rapid rate of decline in the man in those intervening years was shocking to me. Obviously, it's a neurological disease. Again, no real, don't know what causes it, no real cure for it. Then an uncle of mine also was diagnosed with it about 10 years ago. And this is a guy who ran marathons. This was a guy who was always super fit, very senior member of Bank of Ireland, very successful type A guy. And it just brought him to his knees, and really, really difficult. And I've seen the impact then on the surrounding family and the amount of care that's involved. The level of care is phenomenal. So whatever about finding cures, even being able to support on the care side. So anything that we can do, given that we're full-bodied, bring it on. And let's raise as much as awareness and funds as we can to help out.
Yeah, and look, I mean, 2 illnesses that are likely underfunded, lack of awareness, and for all of it, I suppose, to be fundraising as well, and not just doing it for the ego, I think is a really important thing as well. So
it's good to have a reason to get up the final climb.
Exactly, and I mean that probably is it. Again, rather ye than me, but I'm sure as you are going up that final climb, knowing that you have that kind of cause in the back of your minds.
Absolutely,
push you through.
That the causes and the cool beers in the back of our minds. Yeah,
I imagine there's a couple of beer companies that stocks are a bit low the last couple of months, are they?
Yes. Share prices.
No hesitation.
Share prices have dropped significantly in Diageo, I would imagine.
I've never trained for anything before in my life. And the only reason I do light exercise is so that I can eat and drink a horrendous
whatever
amount.
you want, yeah.
So having to actually have the self-will and discipline,
oh my goodness.
is you need to have a cause that's close to your heart to be able to find the motivation. Because if it was just me and my own, willpower, there's not a chance, right?
Yeah,
I actually
100%.
have a crate of non-alcoholic beer, like sitting in the corner, ready to go for when training ramps up even further.
Amazing.
I've mapped out my conferences that I'm going to with TBI, and I've given myself a little chunk of, we'll say, fringe benefits can happen here. And then I have a next block for a golf trip that I'm taking in April. Got a block there. So I'm actually mapping out when I'm going to allow myself to have a wine or a beer. And I haven't done that since I was on the Irish team.
Yeah.
So that's how long ago it's
Cheat
been.
days.
That's serious dedication, though.
Cheat days, yeah, exactly. So my friends are all looking at me like I've lost my mind, but and I kind of have.
I didn't want to say it, maybe you have, but in a good way.
In a good way.
In a good way.
Yeah. Not a bad midlife crisis.
Listen, most people go the opposite.
Lycra or leather.
Yeah.
Those are your choices for midlife crisis. So we've gone the Lycra.
Exactly.
I'm just glad that you didn't make us actually.
But we
in
do
the
have
Lycra
the kits
for
on,
this.
and I said, look, do you know what? I'll leave you alone today. But look, guys, we have said July, but what date exactly in July? We look forward to seeing you guys in the Lycra.
Yeah.
Actually, people sponsor us, or we put the Lycra on.
Yeah, maybe that's it. We do it as a trend.
And I'm having a little run out as well. We've, as some of us might know, we've a very big partner in Germany now called WTS Global.
Yes.
And a lot of the WTS guys are into their Lycra for their midlife crisis as well. So I'm racing a velo tour in Frankfurt with them on May 1st. So we're having a business review, and we're tying in a bike race around that. Normally it would be a round of golf and a boozy night out. Now it's a bike race.
And is that one of the slots now that you've allowed a few beers as well?
It is, yeah. That's one of the slots.
Deserving.
Carbo loading.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, look, guys, July 7th. A couple of months left before we get there. We will definitely try catch up with you before you go, but we'll 100% catch up with you afterwards. I'm waiting for one of you to make a joke saying, "Oh, that's if we make it," but we know you will. We have no doubt, and it's been great to kind of see the behind the scenes of the training as well, and thankfully not as much Lycra in those.
It's also great to have this team environment as well, because Gary, John, and myself, all working for CluneTech. It's great to have that backing. You've been very supportive from the beginning as well, Rachel. Thanks a million. We're delighted with the kit. Look forward to...
That'll be the sneak peek now. We won't show it just yet.
That's fair, but we look forward to wearing the CluneTech badge with pride there out in the roads of France.
Amazing, guys. Best of luck. May the odds be ever in your favour.
Super. Thanks.